Hello. You probably clicked on this video going, "Oh, okay, let's hear some rage, let's hear some all this," and yeah, yeah, those prices were higher than I expected. However, let's talk about the Nintendo prices and what that's going to mean for the future of gaming, for the future of Nintendo, and everything else. Now, there's multiple points that are going to be covered in this, and first, let me give you an explanation of myself. Hi, my name's David. You probably, if you've ever seen one of my videos before, most likely remember me from a time back in like 2005 when I would review Impact, TNA Wrestling, every week. I deleted all those videos from my channel because, I got into the wrestling industry actually, and it didn't seem right to be, I'm going to critique all the people on television when, I'm still struggling to learn hip tosses and body slams and so on and so forth. So it just seemed inappropriate. I mean, who knows? Maybe nowadays, people are be far more kind to that because, hey, everyone really likes Stevie Richards doing that stuff, so who knows? Maybe it'll return. I don't know. But yeah, outside of that, unless you know me from that, this is probably the first time you've ever seen me. Or you watched a video of me playing the Mattel Dungeons & Dragons electronic board game. So, there's that. Anyway, hi, my name's David. I am a teacher at 2 different universities. I essentially work 2 full-time jobs. Yes, I work 80-hour weeks. For what is essentially $40K. Not $40K each, $40K. Total. Got my taxes right here to prove it. If you really wanted me to. Not that I would actually put sensitive information like my social security card on the number on there, but still, point taken. Anyway, so I teach game design for a living. I also happen to have a master's degree in business administration. So I generally have, I didn't take the financial track, okay? Mainly because I just didn't want to sit in front of a spreadsheet all day. I rather preferred the 40-page essay. Actually, was it 40 pages or was it 80 pages? Either way, I rather preferred the massive essay looking into, emergent countries and different online statistics. I rather liked looking at that and making the essay versus making the spreadsheet. So I have the management track of it, not the marketing track of it, but I still, some of the courses still cross over, so I've got a generalized idea about what's going on with Nintendo, why these prices are like this, so on and so forth. Now, I am not a financial expert. I do not have, literally Nintendo's financial sheets in front of me, though they are a publicly traded company, so they will release them in April at some point, because no, wait, actually, is May when they do those statements? I think it's either April or May that Nintendo specifically, that's their end of their quarter. It's different for every company, oddly enough. But yeah. So, I have a generalized idea of what's going on and why, and this is why I can say that despite all the rage that everyone's probably expecting, I am not taken too much by surprise by this. So, for those of you that don't know Nintendo, Nintendo is a very conservative company. They will, and I repeat, will make a profit on every unit sold. That is in their DNA. Now you're probably going, well, what do you mean? Doesn't everyone make profit on every... No. No. Remember how everyone, was upset when the PlayStation 5 went from like $600 to $700. It had a price increase, not a price decrease. Sony is still taking a loss on every single one of those sold. So Sony, Microsoft, other companies up to an extent, whenever they try to make software or when they make hardware, they sell that hardware at a loss. They're selling it to you for $750. It costs them $850 to make it. They're expecting to take a loss up front to make it up later with like a percentage of software sales or something else. Or licensing agreements like, hey, we're going to get another season of the Twisted Metal TV show. The company has to pay us X number of millions of dollars to use the Twisted Metal license. That's what they're doing. They're taking a loss up front to make it up later. Nintendo doesn't do that. Nintendo makes a profit on every unit sold. The only time they never did was the Wii U. The thing that didn't sell well at all. Raising the price of the Wii U another $100 would not have helped the Wii U. But it would have made sure that Nintendo profited off of every single Wii U sold. Now, the other thing about Sony and Microsoft and, Apple and so on and so forth is they can afford to have their PlayStation or Xbox just fail spectacularly. It doesn't matter. Microsoft doesn't need Xbox. They have an entire PC market. They have laptops. They have, tablets. You know what? I wouldn't be shocked if they're going into cell phones. Okay? Sony. Computers, televisions, washing machines, monitors, music, movies, their own banking system, although Nintendo has their own bank as well in Japan, so that's beyond the point, but my point is that the PlayStation line could crash immediately tomorrow. It's not going to matter to Sony. They have enough billions upon billions upon billions in other revenue streams. They don't need to make a profit in games. Same thing with Microsoft. Nintendo is trying to do that. They're just starting out, though. They're just starting getting their stuff into movies. They're just starting getting their stuff into animation. They're just starting getting their stuff into theme parks. They have just started their own music app. They have just started their own news app. These are things that are starting. They won't see, the market penetration, the market growth, everything that you have there for another 10, 15, 20 years. Okay? We're a long ways away from the Nintendo multiverse on movies, where you have 4 or 5 different Nintendo franchises every year, like Marvel. We're a long way away from that. So Nintendo has to make a profit on every unit sold. That's part 1. Part 2 is inflation, just in general. Contrary to popular belief, gaming was getting cheaper as it went on. Okay? The Atari 2600 would be like $800 today if we compared the money of when it came out in the 70s to today's money. Okay? It would be ridiculous. The Game Boy, the original green color brick that took 4 AA batteries, that would be like $1,000 to $200 today. The idea of a $60 game is actually really cheap. Okay? You don't even have to go back too far. Go back to the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Games were routinely $85, $90, $100, $120. And so they stagnated while inflation went up. So what that means is, as their price stayed the same, the percentage of revenue they got was less and less and less. And you'll notice things like this happening, like even like with like the VR2 kick. And I forget what game it was. The game that was, when the VR2 was announced and everyone bought it, it sold like 5 million units, blah, blah, blah. And then immediately after, the company shut down. It was the highest selling VR2 game ever. And it did not make a profit. It was not sustainable. That's what companies are thinking of. Now, that's why DLC existed. That's why when I bought Breath of the Wild on the Switch, yeah, I bought a $60 game. But there were DLC passes that were coming out where, hey, if you want to get this pass, it's $20 extra. If you want to buy these individually, it's $30 extra. You didn't buy a $60 game. You bought a $90 game, and they just gave you the prices in installments. And I was okay with that, because I could tell Breath of the Wild was a big game. Okay, I got like 100 hours out of it. Yeah, I don't mind paying $90, even if I was personally upset about the price, or even I was personally upset about the DLC. It's like, oh, that's it. That's all the DLC was. It was one dungeon and the Cave of Trials. Ooh. Even if I personally didn't like the DLC, I got enough of an experience that I didn't mind the price. And I understood that. So when I see the game price that's, hey, it's an $80 game, or this is a $70 game, or this is that, it's like, yeah, they were going to do that to us either way. So that's what's happening as well. This is the long-awaited, every company is going to have to raise their prices just to make a profit. If you think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be cheap, it's not. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if that was a $200 game. It's going to be the biggest, the largest game in existence. And you might say, well, and you know what? Maybe the price isn't $200 up front, but maybe it's $100 up front. And then a couple months later, here's the expansion. Here's new missions for $20. Here's another pack of new missions later for another $20. Here's another $20, so on and so forth. They're going to charge you that $200. Oh, by the way, here's Grand Theft Auto Online. It's its own separate subscription that gets billed monthly to you. You're going to spend $450, $500 just on Grand Theft Auto 6 alone. And you're probably going to do the same thing for Elder Scrolls 6 alone. The only difference here is Nintendo has said, here's the cost up front, where other companies have gone, here's the cost in increments. That's the only difference. So with inflation going up, now, here's the kicker though, because obviously, inflation wouldn't matter that much if, people are saying, well, okay, fine, prices are going up, but so's my paycheck. And that's not what happened, is it? Inflation's been going up, and your paycheck went beep. Even if, your paycheck is going up, it's not going up at the same rate as the costs. And that's what has been giving us the problems. Like I said, I work 2 full-time jobs. Did I mention that in this clip yet? I don't know. I haven't heard what take of this is. But I work 2 full-time jobs, and I bet you some of you work 3. I bet you some of you have it even worse than I do. Because all things considered, I'm all right. My car payment, I only have like $400 left on that. I have no student debt. That's right, I've paid off my entire master's degree at this point. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the greatest life. I'm not living in luxury. I mean, you know, but yeah, it could be worse, and it can be worse. How do the soybean farmers who are coming to the conclusion, oh God, oh God, oh God, the seeds are already in the ground, and China, who I was going to sell all the soybeans to, because that's who we in America sell our soybeans to, they don't want them anymore. Who do I sell this to? How do I make a profit? Yeah, it could be worse. So there are people that this is priced out. But with those two steps alone, I can say, with the, Nintendo has to make a profit, and prices going up in general, just because gaming has been so cheap for so long, it was going to happen. I was expecting a $400 console. I was expecting $70 games. That I was expecting. The fact that it was $80 and $450, well, that's point 3. Tariffs. Now, I'm surprised Nintendo actually went out and said it. Like, they had their announcement and they went and said, hey guys, this is because of tariffs that we're going to be pausing our pre-orders for the Switch 2. And we're going to rethink things. Yeah, no, normally when a company has this, they say like, oh, it's market instability or market uncertainty, or, where they find some flowery language to dance around the topic. The fact that Nintendo just flat out said it's tariffs was oddly blunt for them. Because Nintendo very much likes to apologize for everything. Going back to Breath of the Wild, how many times did Satoru Iwata get in front of a screen and just bow his head and say, like, we're sorry that this delay to Breath of the Wild has happened again. Please bear with us as we make this game as good as we can. Thank you. Same thing with Metroid Prime 4. We're sorry, we've restarted development. Nintendo is a very apologetic company. They don't like confrontation. So for them to come out and say it's tariffs tells me it's the effing tariffs. Now, going back to what Nintendo was doing, all the manufacturing and whatnot was done in China, basically. Nintendo and a bunch of other companies, a bunch of other computer companies, or just computer parts that are needed companies, recognized that China was going to get tariffed. So they moved all their places to Vietnam. And then Vietnam got hit with tariffs that were even worse. So the $450 price was Nintendo going, we expect a 15-20% tariff. And then they got hit with 46. They weren't expecting that. I bet you at the $450 price point, Nintendo doesn't make a profit on every unit sold. This probably means the Switch 2 is actually going to be $500, $550. It might mean that the game prices, Mario Kart's not an $80 game now. It's $100, $120. It's, so what do you do when you were expecting, a quarter of a price rise and instead you get half a price rise? You were expecting 125%, you got 150%. So on and so forth. So, and it's not gonna just be Nintendo. You notice how Sony today put out a survey about what people think about the Switch price? It's because they're coming to the same conclusion. Even if Sony's headquarters is in America now, it's a worldwide supply chain. You know, if you want to build every single part in America, okay. First, you have to build the product. And to build the product, you need to build the factory. That factory is going to take, assuming enough permits happen at a reasonable time, 6, 7 years to build it, another 6 months to staff it, another 2 years to have the production line actually pump out enough consoles. Okay. Are you saying that if you want it to be entirely American product, you're going to wait another 8 years? No, you won't. So, that's not happening. Not anytime soon, at least. So, considering the entire worldwide economy is interconnected, because, even if you're saying, oh, well, maybe they can get their stuff out of Vietnam quickly. I guarantee you there's parts from Sweden, there's parts from Germany, there's parts from Cambodia, there's parts from Kenya, there's parts from, who knows, maybe there's something from Antarctica, who knows. Point being, it's all an interconnected web. You're not going to have a product, there is no product that is solely made in one place anymore. You're going to pay tariffs no matter what. Just a matter of how much. So, it means that the Switch 2 is going to be very expensive. It also probably means that the PlayStation 5 is going to get another price increase. Maybe not to the extent that the Switch gets price increased, but it's going to get price increased. Everything is going to get price increased. I would love to say I saw this coming and I patted myself on the back. I mean, I literally bought a 4K TV specifically on Black Friday because I was like, well, prices are going to jump up soon, so I need to do this now. So I did. So I knew that this was coming in advance, and that's why I also can't say I'm too shocked. It still sucks, it still stings, but it was bound to happen. But what does this mean going forward? Well, I would say it probably prices out a lot of people, but given that the last time there was a pandemic, COVID, the Switch exploded, and also in the big economic crash of the Great Depression, the stock market collapse, movies exploded. People love their escapism. And in times of desperation, in times of turmoil, in times of strife, the funding or the buying, the consuming of escapism shoots through the roof. Because people need something to escape from or escape to. So I don't think the Switch 2 is going to have too much of a problem finding an audience. Is it going to be as big of an audience as the Switch 1? Probably not. But I don't think it's going to have a problem. It'll sell 50, 60, 70 million units. The 3DS had a problem of getting the DS users over, but it still got a decent enough audience of its own. What are you going to do? Not play Mario Kart? It's the only place you can get it. So, or it will be eventually, because Nintendo will shutter down Switch 1 production and go, well, you gotta upgrade at some point. Because that's the product they're trying to push. You will buy it, whether you want to or not, at some point. And despite how everyone's yelling, change the price, lower the price, fix the price, whatever, in the comment section, when you go to actual polls, 33% say they're going to buy it day one. 32% say they're going to buy it within a year or two. 31% say they're going to buy it eventually. There's only 4% left that say they won't buy it. And much like how everyone totally boycotted insert company here, no, you didn't. You still bought it. You still did. So I have no confidence that a boycott of a Nintendo product is actually going to happen. I have no confidence that a boycott of any company is going to actually happen. So, what does this mean, though, for gaming as a whole? Where does this leave us? If everyone's still going to buy it, their paycheck is worse, but they're going to buy the thing that's more expensive anyway. Where does that leave us as people? We're going to be more selective about the games we buy. You could have, spent $60 on a game that, I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, but I'll try it out. Are you going to risk $80 on a game you don't know about? Are you going to risk $120 on a game you don't know about? See, this is the problem. So, Mario Kart's going to be fine. Everyone's going to buy Mario Kart. Everyone's going to buy Donkey Kong. The wheelchair basketball game. That's the one that's going to be in problem. Well, I spent $700 for the system, $100 for the game, $200 on multiple controllers for people in the household to play the game in multiplayer, the online subscription. I guarantee people will like Mario Kart. I can't guarantee people will like this. And that's going to be the conundrum people are going to be stuck in. We're going to be in the same situation of Hollywood, where the reason why you're seeing sequels and remakes and whatnot is that they're proven. They're proven to draw people to the theater. A new idea. Hey, it's this great new idea and it's won all these awards, and no one went to see it. Not a single person saw it. It bombed. It lost money. It was terrible. Maybe not critically, but financially it was terrible. You know what that means? Hey, this brilliant new idea that you say you wanted, we're not doing that anymore. You said you wanted it. You didn't see it. Here's your next Spider-Man movie. And the next Spider-Man movie breaks $1 billion because it's Spider-Man. Doesn't matter how good or bad or indifferent it is. It's Spider-Man. And that's the reason why you're seeing more Spider-Man. Okay? People may complain about Marvel and go, oh, I hate the oversaturation of Marvel. Really? Well, Disney had like the number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 most successful movies last year. They were superhero movies and remakes. And you know what? The other ones that flopped, they did just as well as like some of the good ones that you claim you love, like the original Iron Man or the original Captain America. The bad ones are still doing $700 million. Whereas the good movie that you claim you love has just bankrupted a company, and they've sold their assets to Disney. So that's where we're going to be. We're going to see more sequels. We're going to see more safe things, even on the indie scene. Okay? Because everyone's going to have to eventually raise the prices. Hey, I've got this thing that's like Twisted Metal. No. It's not like Twisted Metal, but it's Twisted Metal. So we can't experiment. We can't take the time to do that. We have millions of dollars in this low-budget indie game that we need to sell, or else we all go under. That character, that's Thumper. Okay, well, we can't call it Thumper. It's Blazer, or Flamer, or whatever. That's Sweet Tooth. Okay, we can't call it Sweet Tooth because that's owned, but it's Candy Cane. It's, Sugar Rush, whatever. They are going to make something that is blatantly a ripoff. It's not going to be inspired by, it's not going to be a passion project. It's going to be the safe bet. Games are already taking multiple years and multi-millions of dollars, way more expensive than they were in the 90s to make. Companies are already at risk of going under, even when they do the safe bet. All this is going to do is this is going to breed stagnation, and this is going to breed, the safe bet. Nintendo will still probably do a quirky thing here or there because they're Nintendo. They like doing quirky things. But everyone else? Here's another God of War sequel. Here's another FIFA. Here's another Madden. Here's another Call of Duty. Here's another Halo. Here's the same thing that you've been playing for the past 20 years. You're going to see more of that because that's the safe bet. That's what this means for us in the long term. That's really all. Here's the same thing regurgitated again. And, that at the end of the day, that's the immediate thing. Companies are looking at the tariffs, and even if the tariffs go away tomorrow, what's stopping them from coming back next month? What's stopping next year from Trump going, oh, you know what, I've decided I want to bring this back, and now it's 345%. What is stopping anything? Nothing. So these companies have to look at the long term, and they're going to bunker down, and they're going to play it safe. They are all in panic mode right now. They're all in containment mode. They are trying to lose the least. That's what they're doing. And what that means for us as consumers is that we're going to get a lot of the same thing. Really wish it wouldn't have happened like this. I mean, I teach video game design for a living, so I can get a write-off on every single video game I buy, but still, I really would have liked to have had more unique examples, I want to give people the concept of, what you can do with things, rather than just regurgitating the same thing over and over again. There's not something as weird as Archon, the light and the dark anymore, You don't see some of those weird, sort of like, ridiculous games. Even something as simple as an isometric race game. Marble Madness. When was the last time anyone did something like that? A lot of the uniqueness of gaming has already been... The concept of gaming itself has already been very diluted. It's just going to get more diluted now. So that's what the prices mean for us. In the grand cosmic scheme of things, that's what it is. And who knows? Maybe, hopefully, this all gets reversed and things go back down. Maybe the economy rights itself and everything, and, sane people get put in charge, and, maybe we're living in a Star Trek utopia where we've overcome the concept of supply and demand, and we just have replicators that just make things. And there's no need for currency because all human needs are met. But until that day happens, which, that's like the year 2600 according to Star Trek? Yeah, probably not going to happen. Not going to happen in our lifetimes. So this is something we have to deal with. So I'm imagining a lot of people are still going to buy games, but they're going to buy less games. They're going to be more frugal about what they buy. What also this means, as far as game designers go, is that people are now going to be going, we're going to bring back the era of, this game is only 140 hours. Is it worth my money for 140 hours? So we're going to get the return of bloated content, where, hey, your open world game, we're going to make you grind about 7 times more than you need to get to that next mission. Because we need to pad out your playtime. We need you to feel like you've earned your time with the money you spent. That's going to make a return too. Or, hey, just to gain another level, give us 99 cents. Ding! By the way, you need to be like, 9 more levels to get to the next stopping point. Ding, ding, ding. So, basically, just pay us more money and more money and more money to make the hassle go away. That's what we're looking forward to in the future. I guess on a side note, Donkey Kong looks really good. Not sure how I feel about the Mario Kart stuff. I mean, it's Mario Kart, it'll be fine, but if someone were to tell me, hey, they're going to make a Donkey Kong game, I would have gone and said, okay, they're going to make 3D Donkey Kong. Okay, so it'll be Donkey Kong 64, but better. And the answer was no. They decided they wanted to make a game where you punch everything. And like with Red Faction Gorilla, destruction everywhere. You're not playing Donkey Kong. You're playing the Donkey Kong as the Hulk, breaking everything and making your own tunnels through the level. I love that Nintendo still gives me concepts where it's like, I never knew I wanted this, but I want this. Thank you. As far as what I'm probably going to get for the Switch, Mario Kart, obviously, Donkey Kong, obviously, Metroid Prime 2, obviously, and then now I'm at the point where I'm going, well, I need to save money. I never played Elden Ring. I was purposely holding off on Elden Ring, because it was either going to be, well, what do I get next? Do I get a PlayStation 5 or 6 or whatever? Or do I get a Switch 2? So, Elden Ring I'm going to get. And then, I never actually played Hitman, but I know World of Assassination is 3 games. So I'm going to assume that at some sort of discount-ish price, I've got 3 games right there in just that collection. And then that's probably it. Like, that's it for me. That's about the $1,000 that I want to spend right now. So, yeah. That's me. That's my thoughts in a nutshell about the prices. I can't necessarily say I was surprised that it happened, but that's why it happened and how it happened and where we're going to be going forward. So, sucks to be us, but I can be angry about it and still go and say, I understand. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. I don't know if this helped anyone understand why anything's happening. But, if this gave someone some sort of level of comfort, good. For everyone else, see you in the next video. Probably be a WrestleMania review or something. Because, I just somehow just do like one every year now, just because out of habit. But later, bye. See you next time.